Hello, hello, beautiful beloveds around the world. So happy to see you today. This is Sylvia Mordini, the founder of Alchemy of Yoga and Life Inspired, and I'm delighted to have this time together. The topic of today's conversation is, how do you know if you're an empath? So, how do you know if you're like me, an empath? Well, let's go through some of the characteristics. But first, I just want to let you know that I've been studying what is an empath, learning first from Dr. Judith Orloff for over 20 years, because it was one of the key things that changed my life. Once I understood that this describes not only who I am, but also that there are other people like me, everything changed. And it was really a profound experience in my personal development and my evolution and feeling more empowered as my true authentic self. So I want that for you. So what Dr. Judith Orloff says is that empaths absorb all of the wonderful, joyful moments that occur around them, as well as all the stresses that occur around them through other people and the world at large, and they act as human sponges. So yes, that's right, I've just called myself a sponge, because that's true. I am a human sponge. And if you're an empath, that is something that we have in common, that we truly are like human sponges. And that's why it's so important to understand what you can do, right, to maintain optimal health and vitality in your life as an empath. So one of the key characteristics is intuition. If you, in talking to people, feel like you know more about what they're not saying than even what they're saying out loud to you, can you sense that you walk into a room and everybody may look really happy, cheerful, but you can sense that something's a little off, that something has occurred, or what is that? There's something happening there. Or even this feeling of clairsentience, clairvoyance, this intuition to feel like what is coming, what is ahead. Like, maybe I don't go in that direction or do that thing because I'm sensing something that is not optimal over there. And instead I go over in this way, in this direction. But notice what sort of relationship you've had with your intuition over the years. Is it something you've been afraid of and you push away? Like, this is like the worst thing about me, my intuition, just that voice that speaks to us from inside. Or is it something that you've embraced fully and you know that it's a superhero power? Or some of both? For me, it's been some of both, where I've both been really afraid of my intuition and I couldn't understand it. I didn't know what to do with it, and could I trust it? And then I've embraced it and made it a centerpiece of my life's work and how I show up in the world as my most authentic self. Yeah, from my highest good for the highest good, because that's why we are more tuned into our intuition. Yes, it's part of our soul contract to have that as our superhero power. Then the next quality of empaths is sensitivity. So if at any point you were said, called, named, you're too sensitive, as if it was something bad. And that was me. I've been called overly sensitive since I was a little girl. And I really thought that being sensitive was a bad thing. Like I connected what people say, the look that they have, the energy they have when they say, you're so sensitive, as equals, that's not something we want to be, that this is a negative thing. And it took me decades to heal that and know that my sensitivity is, again, something that is really powerful and can be empowering if I embrace it. So if you are an empath, now, are you always a highly sensitive person, HSPs? You could be a highly sensitive person, that sort of name, but you could just be sensitive, right? So are all highly sensitive people, empaths, not always are all empaths highly sensitive people, but for certain, we do have a more fine-tuned way of feeling sensitive to what? To our surroundings, to noise, to sound. Like maybe you get exhausted after going to a mall or being out at a really loud, busy restaurant, and you just feel like that's a trigger for you, right? So it could be sensitivity to sound. It could be sensitivity to an environment where you just don't feel comfortable with certain groups or situations where you feel toxic energy or aggressive energy. And so just think about how that has shown up. And sensitivity to other people's emotions and feelings. Okay? Sensitivity to when you go through social media, to the stories that you're reading, to your media diet, whether the stories are like really uplifting or really tragic, just being sensitive to all of that. So then the next quality is empathy. So the word empath coming from the word empathy. This is different than compassion. It's different than sympathy. And instead, I want you to think of empathy as, I may not have an entire encyclopedia of all human emotions. I have my experiences. But when you are experiencing something, going through something, feeling something, I feel not just for you. I feel like it's my feelings too. I'm feeling it exactly for you as well. And that's a really big difference, right? And empathy, and of all the muscles we work in our body, the empathy muscle is one of the most important to keep really strong in this world, that needs us to maintain that and maybe inspire others to work out their empathy muscle. Then the next characteristics of empaths is that we care. We care a lot. We can't not care. Just not even possible to not care. We care about the people we read that are not geographically near us. We care about those that are like us, those that are not like us. We care about the oneness of the world. We've always seen that we have more in common that makes us alike than different. We feel the interconnectedness, whether it comes through yoga, spiritual practices. No one had to teach that to us. We just care about all living creatures. And those could be human creatures, but also the animal people, and all things with consciousness, which is everything, the plant people, the earth herself. So we didn't have to define ourselves as like eco-conscious or even as an ally. We've always just cared about everyone because we don't see any separation, and what you feel is what I'll feel. So then the next characteristic is, from all these feelings and taking on so much, we get overloaded and need time to recharge. And that's a really important thing for empaths. Now, it could be totally misunderstood by some people around us, right? Or when we don't know that, oh, what I'm experiencing is because I'm an empath, we may not be able to communicate that this is why we need time to recharge. It's really, really vitally important to us because we absorb all of the joys that exist around us, whether it's people physically around us, people in our family and friends groups, or those that we're reading about through social media, and then all of the difficult, challenging, painful circumstances that occur. And so we're absorbing this all, and we get fatigued, right? So the transmutation of these emotions, it can get just very difficult when there's so much. And over the last 18 months of a worldwide pandemic, all of us as empaths are really exhausted. We're like super tired and fatigued from it because, quite frankly, it's been just way too much for us to transmute. If you think about eating, you can only digest so much food, and then you can't eat anymore. But it's a non-stop experience of receiving people's emotions, feelings, and the stories of what's going on in the world. And we're just like fatigued by it. So we need more time now to recharge than ever before. It's just really important to us. But that doesn't mean when we need time to recharge that we are introverted. Not all empaths are introverts. Empath doesn't equal introvert. Empaths are extroverted. Empaths are introverted. Empaths are somewhere on the continuum. But just because we need to step back doesn't mean that we're introverted. So just hold that to heart. It just means we need to recharge our battery and we can't absorb anything else right now, right? So as a tendency, one of the next characteristics is that we have a tendency to isolate. We self-isolate. We do pull away from everyone around us because we just get overwhelmed. And so then we just pull back. And this actually links to the next characteristics where we don't feel like we fit in. And because we don't feel like we fit in, we self-isolate even more. They kind of feed on one another. And what we need is actually the opposite. We need tribe, community, soul family, like-minded community around us that understands without us having to explain. So empaths need other empath friends, right? And soul family, your maid family, to help us so that we don't go around feeling as if we don't fit in and not having community to appreciate, accept us, understand us, right? For just being ourselves, And that's what I used to do. I've had a really difficult time, over the years, finding tribe because I didn't feel like I fit in. You add that, the challenge of being an immigrant, a brown immigrant in the United States, and already that outsider syndrome and not feeling like I fit in and being an empath, all of those things have made it really difficult sometimes. And I don't want that for you. I want it to be easier for you than it's been for me. And that's why 17 years ago, I created Alchemy of Yoga, which is a mystery school of the healing arts and a yoga teacher training program. But it is an enclave, a sacred sanctuary for empaths, for those that are intuitive, for those that are sensitive, for those that are light workers, those that are healers. It's a place for us to gather together. And it's really important that you know that who I call in, my soulmate clients, my soulmate students, are empaths. And so if that sounds like you, any of these characteristics that I've gone through, then I welcome you into the Alchemy family. Come be with us and find your people because I'm your people. Yeah? If you're an empath, then we are one. Yeah? And I want that for you. So my next cohort, September 1st through the 29th, for Alchemy of Yoga, is 12 live sessions over 4 weeks, and you also receive the entire program on demand, the entire thing, day one. It's yours. You have lifetime access, and I'm offering a really special rate right now of, 50% off, an additional 50% off if you pay in full. So only $4.99 for the entire program and to become a certified yoga teacher that's recognized by Yoga Alliance. So this is a really beautiful time. And the reason that I think that, my yoga teacher training program is for empaths, one, I love the online aspect of it because we're not meeting for 8 to 10 hours at a time, where that can literally exhaust us. And anytime you're physically with people, then you feel their energy even more. We're meeting for shorter times, no more than 3 hours. And that will help us balance and feel really good and feel nourished as we move through the program. And then there's time in between each session to just process, recharge, regroup. And on any session, you don't have to have the camera on. You can, you don't have to. But there's also that tendency for empaths to want to just be meticulous in our learning. But I've taken all the notes you could possibly need, and I've put them in this beautiful program on demand. So You don't even have to take notes. You just show up and just receive and just be in the container and receive the transmissions from me and be in community with your kula. Kula means community of the heart. So it's a really beautiful experience, September 1st through the 29th, yoga teacher training for empaths. I love that this is giving more of us an opportunity to receive the certification in the way that we need to. And so that it doesn't distract us or make it more difficult for us because we're empaths, but instead it supports us and nourishes us in the highest ways. So it's a beautiful program. I would be so honored to hold space for you, dear ones, and let me know if you have any questions. And also if you found some of this information helpful about the characteristics of an empath, then please subscribe to my channel. You can expect so much more, and I'm just sending love to all of you. From my heart to your heart, to the heart of the universe, may you love yourself, love your day, and love your life.